in this room is into storytelling or content creation. I mean, not technical-wise, I mean storytelling, so bless you. So I want to talk with you about storytelling in VR because it obviously is a big time. Everybody's talking about content creation. Technology seems to be in a good and solid shape already. Well, there's something to fix, we know that all, but if we don't have content, this new medium will not succeed. So we all know this. So my name is Astrid Kahmke, and I have some kind of a background as a film producer and a storyteller and script consultant, so I know a bit about storytelling in a conventional way. And I'm working for the Bavarian Film Center, which is a startup incubator in Munich. I'm helming the first movie program. We're supporting film producers, talent writers with their debut in a conventional way. That means for cinema, feature films, and television, but also since a few years for digital storytelling, transmedia storytelling, and all the new media platforms. And I personally are hooked to virtual reality since 2 years, when I had my first wife on the head. So, plus we organize international conferences and events, such as I4C, stands for I4C, and for Innovation for Content, and there will be another one in October. I'll tell you later about that. So, storytelling in virtual reality is not easy. Storytelling at all is not easy, because if you followed Alicia Naples in her fabulous speech, it's about being a human being. It's about emotion, it's about psychological aspects, it's about conflicts. It needs experience, it needs a lot of skills. So it's nothing you can just do in a 10-point bullet sheet. It's something you need really to inhale the experience and to know about it. So many factors are new to filmmakers in virtual reality. So the conventional storytelling doesn't fit any longer. And we all need to experiment and fast fail forward to find out what this new medium means to us. For AR and V industry, it's absolutely crucial to get great content. And I don't mean technological, exciting content. Nobody will watch an experience twice or recommend an experience just for the fabulous new technical features. This is something we are excited about. But if you have friends out there and let them watch an experience, they don't talk about latency or something technical. They talk about the content, and they want to be hooked. They want to be empathized. They want to be on an emotional journey, and this is the job we have to do now. So why we are talking about storytelling in VR at all? Why is this a theme we have to discuss? We know how storytelling works, obviously. That's why it's a new medium. It's the new medium of the 21st century, and it demands a new narrative model. So if you look back, there are, of course, other... sorry for that. Okay, this was that. Here we are. I did some homework. Here we are. So the 19th century was, the medium of the 19th century, basically in general, was the novel. And it still is. We still read books, though it wasn't eliminated or erased by film, as you can see. And film was the medium of the 20th century, and it won't be eliminated or replaced by virtual reality. So I'm convinced about that. So the main question for me now is, what is the difference between the storytelling we learned and we know already and the new storytelling for virtual reality? So we need to go back a few years, maybe, let's say, a few thousand years. It started all when we began to communicate, and mainly about top issues like where is food, where is danger, where is a single maid roaming around. So these topics are still part of our storytelling until today. Most stories are about sex, drugs, and rock and roll still. So a few thousand years later, the urge to explain the unexplainable popped up, and so mythologies came. With mythologies, the religion came, and this is the base of storytelling in our storytelling way, the way we still do it. So I have a few heroes in my life for storytelling. three old men, all dead already. You probably know Aristotle, why he's here on that screen, because he discussed structure, and he made the point that every story has a beginning, a midpoint, and an ending. Sounds terrible simple, but it isn't. Of course, there's a structure. He says there are 3 or 5 acts. It's a beginning, there's an uprising until a climax, there's a descent, and then the story ends. And it should end with something we call catharsis, or today you might say the healing or the learning of a story or the learning effect. The second one is very important. He's a psychoanalyst, by the way, so psychology is a huge thing in storytelling. And C.G. Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, discovered the archetypes. This is something which we connect, characters we connect all over the world in all periods of time, all cultures, everybody, every human being knows exactly what is meant and has a certain association with an archetype like the warrior, the hero, the innocent, the sorcerer, the princess. We still live with these archetypes in our dreams, in our lives, and in our stories. He also found out that there is a collective unconscious. So the biggest adventure is the human psyche, so to say, and there is an undiscovered continent. This is the conscious. The collective unconscious has the same function. That means that there are things stored in our psyche we don't really can control, but we are continuously are led by these unconscious information. And parts of this unconscious information is all over spread in all periods of time, all cultures, all human beings. So this is something we share with everybody, literally. And the third one, of course, is Joseph Campbell. You might know him, at least you know him. He is the one who coached or developed together with George Lucas the Star Wars mythology. His whole life was mythology, and he found out that there's one myth, one monomyth in the world that every story, that every mythology contains, and that the hero's journey. And there's a certain structure, the hero's journey, that we continuously tell again and again. In rather short, if you watch clockwise, the hero's journey starts at 12 o'clock in the known world. So we call it the establishing of the character. And then there's something happening that makes him take the call to adventure, and he has to go into the unknown world, into the adventure. And there he has to fight or face some challenges and ups and downs and so on until he succeeds, and finally he has to go back to reality or to his known world. This pattern, the hero's journey, is literally the basis for all stories. I promise, I can make a bet that we find this backbone in every story ever told on life, because it's part of our life. And why is this so important to know? Because everybody can connect with each state of the hero's journey because it's part of our personal experience, and thus we can empathize and connect with the protagonist, with the hero in the story. And this is key. If we don't connect with the protagonist, it doesn't matter for us. So we say, what's the point? Stand up and leave the cinema, or what's the point? And put off the headset. So the classical movie structure, or the classical story structure merges the structure of Aristotle and the hero's journey and the knowledge about the archetypes. And this is where we are. And it pretty well worked for 5,000 years or even longer, and it will work in the future again, because this is the way we understand stories. If you have kids, try to interrupt before you end the stories. Wish you good luck in the evening. They know instinctively when the story is finished, and they never, ever had a lesson in storytelling. So storytelling changes, that's for sure. It changes with the technology, huge step forward with the invention of the internet, and new digital platforms were popping up and became important in our life, and storytelling became even more sophisticated. Games were conquering the digital world, and the simple structure of this level, so please forgive me if game developers are here. I know it's by far more complex. But the most important thing for games is that suddenly people are able to interact. And interactivity causes that the user, the audience is not the audience any longer, it's become a user, and the user needs, can take active part, and this needs a non-linear structure because the user can make choices. So these are just some patterns. There are more to show you that storytelling is no longer linear. It can be non-linear, very, very complex, very complicated, giving the user a choice to do different things with the story. So the writer started to build story worlds, not storylines any longer, to offer the gamers the worlds, and though they make their choices. And a story world has residents, they have an inner logic, they have a consistent mechanism and a designed setting. The narrator basically has become a creator. So here we are, the next step into virtual reality. That will push narration forward again, I hope so. Though if not, it won't succeed. We went from linear structure to non-linear structure, from story to story world, and from narrator to creator. So what else? What else is new? Why do we need to talk here about that? Because we need to make a distinction. If I am asked, can you say something about storytelling about VR? People mostly mean 360 live action movies. So there's a huge range of different technologies bundled under the concept of virtual reality in the media these days. And it's absolutely crucial to make a distinction of which technology we are talking, because we are talking about different devices, different audiences, and different possibilities to tell a story. This is Milgrams virtual reality continuum. It starts from reality with some virtual reality elements and go through all stages of mixed reality, augmented reality, and ends up in a completely virtual space or environment. And I try to fill it in with the recent technology from cardboard with a very low key of immersion until the complete immersive experience in the void. So we all want to be present in, that was the wrong one, this one. Presence is another buzzword, and presence is key in virtual reality. You only can reach presence if you have a technology that is able to track the movements and the motion of the user and render in real time, so interaction in real time. If this does not happen, you won't achieve presence. The ability of presence will be the demand to this medium, because once you have an HTC Vive on your head, once you felt present the first time, you won't go back to a cardboard. I don't think so. So what's new for virtual reality? I'm coming to the really intense point, is the fourth wall is down. This is what Alicia said with the physical presence and the virtual presence. Is there is no distance any longer between the narration and the user, or the narration and the audience. You literally can step into the narrative, you literally can be part of it. You can be, as user, silent, unseen observer, like a ghost, which usually happens in 360 native because the technique cannot respond to you. You can be involved and therefore part of the story, and therefore be active in, as my example is Invasion from Baobab Studios. Once you've seen it, you might recall the moment when this little white rabbit suddenly stares at you and made eye contact, and this is the moment where it involves you and invites you in the story, and a few minutes later it even tries to hide behind you, which is kind of a weird moment. You also can be a protagonist with passive, non-interactive, non-responsive possibilities, which can be quite frustrating, or quite scary, like in catatonic, that is the, what is that, it's left down. In catatonic, if you've seen it, you're the protagonist, you're in the shoes of a paralyzed person, and somebody is moving the wheelchair around, and it's a horror experience. Though it uses the weakness of the, so to say, the weakness of the medium into the narration. And the fourth one, of course, is you can be a protagonist and can be completely interactive, responsive, and active in the story, which might happen in games. So that means something to the journey. If the user can be the protagonist, it's no longer the hero's journey, it might be the user's journey, and everything up of the red line is the known world as reality, and the call to adventure might be the moment you put on your headset, and then your personal adventure begins, and then you have to explore something, you have to, maybe have certain challenges or certain tasks, until you go back into reality again. It might be the case, if the experience and the storytelling is good, that you connect and feel empathy with the story and the characters in the story once you're in that experience. It might be the case that you're rewarded with agency. It hopefully will be the case when you go back to reality that you will have some impact, the experience will have some impact in your real life, and you might act, as happened by Clouds over Sidra when it was shown in Davos, in the economical convention, that people donated by far more than expected because they were so moved by the refugee camp in Jordania. The other groundbreaking news, or the new in storytelling, is that we are talking about space. It's no longer the restriction of a frame or a screen, which might be good for some storytelling, but we have a spatial environment that demands spatial storytelling and spatial narration and spatial structure. So there is so much to say about spatial structure that I cannot put it into that 25 minutes. But it is already there. We just need to use it and rethink how we can use the space in our storytelling, walking from one room to the other, use a window as a view. There already is a visual language we are familiar with. We are human beings with 100 years of movie making behind us. Movie making has a visual language, so we already know what is meant once we see a door or once we see a window. There's a lot of connotation, so this is something we can use. So new is, we talk about talk about storytelling. We talk about storyboard building. We don't talk about storyline. We should talk about navigation probably. And it's not once upon a time, it's more the case you are here, that you have a spatial environment. So that means from the shift from a linear time-based storytelling to a non-linear spatial story world building. And that's the step into virtual reality. So that was the summary. The fourth wall is down. Fourth wall, to recall, is what separates you from the narration. It might be the screen, it can be the stage, it can be anything else, it can be the line here, but in virtual reality you have the chance to be part of that narration, and this is new and a stunning experience, and you need somebody with huge experience in psychology and storytelling to create something that is really satisfying in that room. We have space instead of frame, and that means that is the combination of an exciting narrative, a potential interaction, and a spatial experience. These are the 3 points for virtual reality that haven't been ever before in any other media. That means for the development, if you start to develop, that you mean a multi disciplinary troupe, a multidisciplinary group. You need, of course, people who know the technology and are able to execute what you want to do. But also you need game designers, user experience designers, interface designers, and please, please, please stick to professional storytellers, to psychologists, to cognition scientists. Ask them, because we don't know yet what really happens in our brains once we're really in an experience that is so intense. Question you should ask is, the first question of all is why VR, why 360? Is that really the right medium for the content I want to transport? What kind of content do I really want to transport? Where is my audience? What kind of media are they using? Do they really all have the devices they need to get the content I provide? So please, this is a moment of truth you really need to stick on. Which technology, at least, do you use? Will you use 360 native, or are you working with a game engine? And which perspective for the user will you use? Talking about perspective again, please keep in mind that if you use the protagonist perspective, you need to be on eye level with your user. So it's some kind strange if you use a non-moving perspective and the user gets the feeling that he's somehow flying over the screen or so. You need to take this into consideration. So the subtitle of this evolution of storytelling speech was A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Future of Storytelling, and I guess you expect the answer to all questions right now. So besides 42, it's, in my humble opinion, please don't try to manipulate. Please don't try to control the user. I think that's the wrong beginning. That's a terrific new technology, and the question mostly asked to me is, how can I make the user watch exactly that direction or see what I want him to see? Stop it. The user wants to take control. That's the exciting thing about virtual reality, so don't try to manipulate him. Create a world that is exciting enough to explore, create an emotional story that is exciting enough to be part of it, and then let it go, let out control. Build a world that allows creativity. Creativity is one of the strongest forces we are driven by. That's why Tilt Brush is a killer application, in my opinion. People are so happy being in Tilt Brush because they just can be creative and do something. Balance, lean back and lean forward. Nobody wants to be continuously active. Nobody wants to be continuously under adrenaline. So build safe harbors. Let the user breathe in your experience. So content creation in VR demands a lot of skills, and I have the feeling in some discussion that it's kind of an add-on. Yes, we have a great technology. We have mastered the latency problem at least. Oh yeah, now we need some content. It's not as simple as it sounds, and please take it serious. So please allow me, for the ending of my speech, to make a short self-advertisement. Our next conference will be the I4C Content Creation for Virtual Worlds conference in Munich. It will be the 29th of October. We are snuggling with Animago, which is 27th, 28th of October. And after that, there will be a tremendously exciting scientific convention at the Leibniz Rechenzentrum, a worldwide convention with the state-of-the-art virtual reality technologies. So for those who are techies. So that's it. Thank you.